Throughout the Second World War, many kind actions were done, but the tale of the man who gave his life to save a dying friend while aboard a damaged B-17 Flying Fortress continues to rank as one of the most prestigious of all time. On June 21, 1944, a bombing mission was carried out by the 6th Group of B-17 Flying Fortresses from the 5th Bomber Wing out of Italy. Because it was known that Ploiești in Romania supplied more than a third of the Germany's oil requirements, therefore it was picked as the target. Lieutenant Edwin Anderson was in charge of the Flying Fortress B-17F, also known as Opisonia. As the bomber approached its target, a group of German Me-109 aircraft had caught up to the B-17s and started to fire cannon at the B-17 formation. Heavy anti-aircraft fire had destroyed the majority of the formation, severely damaging the remaining flying fortresses. The B-17F of Lieutenant Edwin Anderson returned fire, guzzling Me-109 in its path, but the starboard engine was damaged in the subsequent fire, and the remaining 3 engines started to emit thick black smoke. While Anderson's B-17 is currently dropping altitude and fuel, rapidly owing to severe flak damage, cutting off Germany's oil supplies could change the course of the conflict. Anderson was anxious to raise his bombardier Lieutenant David Kingsley above the bar. He increased the engine's output to 100% and kept his damaged B-17 in the air. They were now approaching the bombing target. Kingsley began aiming the bomb drop when he crossed the northern bomb site at the B-17F nose. More Me-109 were approaching for a direct assault as the flak became unbearable. It would be foolish to ignore the struggle. Kingsley's bombs consistently hit their target. By the time they had completed their mission, but only 3 severely injured B-17s were remaining in the formation. The scenario wasn't good for Edwin's group because they had to now drag the B-17F back to their home. The 109s encircled the planes in an effort to shoot down the B-17s. The enemy's another 109 was successfully eliminated when Sergeant Michael Sullivan, the tail gunner, began firing 50 caliber machine guns against them. However, a 20 mm run into the gunner compartment ripped into his shoulder in an instant. Sullivan moved towards the waist position to attract attention after being startled and unable to call for help owing to the broken radio lines. At this point, the waist gunner spotted the man escorting Sullivan to the radio compartment. His comrade and fellow bombardier Kingsley dropped his bombs and ran to aid Sullivan in his wounds. Kingsley looked closer and found that Sullivan's parachute gear was ruined. He removed his jacket and harness to find shock, blood loss, and severely shattered shoulder. Despite Kingsley's best efforts, too much blood had already been lost. While Sullivan was receiving the medical attention, the German Me-109s completely devoured the B-17, which was 500 miles from the base. Flying Fortresses were very tough planes, the toughest planes ever produced during the war, but they had already sustained too much damage. The bail-out bell was sounded by the pilot. Everyone checked their parachute harnesses as they got ready to jump, but Sullivan's parachute was missing. Sullivan recalls Kingsley bringing him to the bomb bay and telling him to hold onto the ripcord until it was free of the flying fortress before pulling it. Sullivan is promptly given his parachute by Kingsley. As he jumps, Sullivan glances up and catches Kingsley's gaze as he keeps staring at him. Although he was firm, it was obvious from the emotion in his eyes that he was not afraid at all. He was fully conscious of his path. The crew saw their B-17 come down and could see Lieutenant Kingsley trying to keep the flying fortress in the air. However, after a little interval, they watched the tragic explosion above Bulgaria. At the young age of 26, Kingsley, an experienced airman, gave his life in order to save a buddy named Sergeant Michael Sullivan. After his death, he was given the Medal of Distinction the highest and most prestigious personal military award given by the United States, in recognition of his heroic deeds and above and beyond valor. This story should live on in people's memory for the rest of the time as a reminder of the goodness and selflessness that people are capable of.